Brought to you by CCT.
Yo, everything good there?
Aye. This thing got me one way, daddy.
What you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What you really? Hey, this thing like you know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out of trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I hop. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
Welcome viewers, I'm Kamal Haynes of Twit4 Media, and today we have yet another special story. But this time I'm here at the Parakeeta Bay, Crown Land, where I'm surrounded by just over 1 million plastic bottles. For those who may be asking why I'm surrounded by this many plastic bottles, it is an initiative between Green VI and the Department of Waste Management. Take a listen. The initiative is entitled We Recycle and is the brainchild of the government of the Virgin Islands that was taken to the next level after the Department of Waste Management partnered with local non-profit organization Green VI to have the collected plastic sorted, packaged and shipped. Well, I spoke to Green VI's project manager, Miss Laurelie Mercer, who explained the initiative.
So we know after the hurricanes, we started to see recycling bins pop up all over. The aim for the program was to encourage persons to separate out materials like their aluminums, glass, and plastics from the regular waste stream that would go to the dump, so that these things wouldn't be burnt because of the negative impact it has on people's health in terms of the air quality as well. We know that the people in the towers in the western area suffered most, in the Packwood Point area as well, suffer most when we have any ignition at the Packwood Pond site, or even when the incinerator is burning, that smoke goes and it affects people with asthma, respiratory conditions, and so on. So the whole aim was to look at what could we do to take things out of the waste streams that is having a negative impact, but also maybe provide an opportunity maybe for entrepreneurship, find ways that this material can now become a resource and not be considered a waste anymore. So there are actually 7 types of plastics, and today what we're loading are the number 1 types of plastics, which would be like your single-use water bottles, anything that is edible. So you know, if you turn over the bottom of your container, you would see like a recycle arrow formed in the shape of a triangle, and in it would have numbers. These numbers tell you what kind of plastics you have. So the number 1 plastics today we're loading. So what happens, these recyclable materials are collected from the various bins throughout the territory. They're brought to the Eco Park here at Parakeeta Bay, where we have field technicians who go through the sorting process, sorting things out into their requisite category. And then we have a base baler, a small bale machine, where the material is put in, and then the cubes that you see behind us are the things that are pumped out. Now, these particular cubes that we're loading today, these are going to Toronto, Canada, to Ice River Springs, which is a bottling company that Green VI had engaged previously. And now this is not the end all and be all. We don't want to be exporting everything as a solution. There's a need for reduction. We have to look at our behavior, what we're doing, what kind of impact it's having on the environment as well as our bodies. If we can find a use locally for a lot of the material can then provide or open up opportunities for entrepreneurship. So this is a resource and it's something that's available, but right now trying to move and get these things out of our waste stream and then finding something or some area where it can be usable and we know what the end use is a viable option right now, but it's not the end all and be all. We really want to push for having things like a bottle bill or a container deposit where you bring your things in and then you're able to get some percentage of money back for what you're dropping off as recyclables. But this is where the government comes in, and this is where that partnership and that collaboration comes in. So if we're able to get some kind of legislation on the ground that can help us manage the waste material, and for us to start to change our mindset and change the dialogue and look at it not just as waste but as a resource, that would be something that would be really awesome.
And great, you just actually mentioned a mouthful, and some very important information, not only for the viewers, but for my knowledge as well. And I want you to go back to the whole collection process of this project. Obviously, it's 1.6 million bottles. Just speak to how these bottles were collected, the different areas of the territory that were collected, and the process in terms of how they were collected and the process to get to this particular stage.
So what happens throughout various communities from the east to the western end of the island, there are recycling bins. Some are made from something called polywood. Polywood comes from our number 2 plastics and various foams. VI Plastics in Paramtong utilizes these plastics where they're chipped down. It's put into an extruder, superheated, and then forced into a mold, so you get planks of what looks like wood. So everybody's familiar with the giant chair outside of Clarence Thomas. That was not made by VI Plastics, however, that is polywood. That is what polywood looks like. The bin at Cedar School, that is polywood. So we have some of the material that is coming in, like your Clorox bottles, your detergent bottles, your gallon bottles, a gallon of water from like Hannah Fresh. Those are being used locally to create this particular material. So as I said, waste management does have an individual that does do collections, and he collects from some bins, and then Green VI collects from the other bins. All the material that is collected from these bins come to the eco park, and then we have field technicians which sort through. They have to open up these bags and they sort through and separate out the various types of plastic, the aluminum and the glass. The plastics based on the grade and their make, but everything is separated out. And then again, what we try to do is to bale. So if you look behind us, we have some films. These are our plastic bags. Very difficult because they, when they break down, they become microplastics. But we're trying to find a way in which that can be utilized. So again, throughout the territory, so Willard Whitley Primary School, there's a bin in front of Willard Whitley Primary School. We have right across from Altair Scatliff. We have at the Cedar School. We have at Palestina just before St. George's. Valerie O. Thomas Center in Secaucus Bay, there's a bin there. You might notice that of late we've been doing some bin beautifications. We've been trying to take the pallet wood bins, those are the older bins, which would hopefully soon be changed out to, over time, to polywood bins that are more durable. The pallet wood bins are being, those that are in good condition are being painted. The others, we're trying to address them so that, they're not just they don't become eyesores. And then I think if the bins look better, people will be more encouraged to treat them better. There's the bin at Free Bottom, and people need to even be mindful of what they're putting near the bins. We have people sometimes putting waste material when there's a skip nearby. We want the bins to be used for what they're supposed to be used for. We don't want waste oil and stuff just gathered around the bins. So there's a lot of outreach right now going on. Green VI is not just about the We Recycle program, but we do a lot of outreach. We are advocates for things that are sustainable, for a healthier, cleaner environment. And that goes from, decreasing mosquito breeding sites to how we manage our waste. One single bottle cap can house 200 mosquito eggs. These things are all linked. So if we treat our waste as a resource, if we change how we behave and how we put things in the environment, we can have a less impact. So, as I said, there are bins throughout. When you get a chance to speak to Ms. Karina Carrere of Waste Management, she can speak more to some of the collections. But right now, things are collected. They're brought to the eco park. Sometimes people from their homes bring the bags directly from their homes, and they drop them off at the eco park. Some businesses, again, bring things directly. They have people that come drop things off. Oasis brought a couple of bottles for us that are no longer usable. They're 5-gallon bottles, but those could be used in our garden project. So we have various initiatives and activities going on that ties to the We Recycle program, but it's not all just about the We Recycle program.
And also in terms of 1.6 million bottles, that's a lot of bottles to be collected. Could you give me the time period that these bottles would have been collected?
Some of these, I met as I came into Green VI, but on a daily basis, we can have the ladies sorting over 45 bags of material, and on an average, on a given day, you can have over 20 to 30 bags of just plastics, right? Now, where that number came from, that number that you just mentioned, inside each bale, one single bale of water bottles is 40 of the white Aeropost bags. So 40 of those bags makes one bale. Where we mix our drinkables and our non-drinkables, we can have up to 35 bags of material. One bag could have, depending on the material in it, over 2,000 bottles. So the number that Miss Penny gave you would be basically looking at the amount of bales that we've crunched out and how many bags of material went into that bale to give you a rough idea of how much material we have sitting on site. Right now we have 88 bales on site. We're trying to load hopefully 44 in each 40-foot container. The bales do vary in size. Right now what I estimate is that we should be able to load 42. I'm hoping to get the extra 2 in there at the end of the day, so that these containers will be able to leave the territory as soon as possible.
And in terms of, you said when you came here, some of the bottles were already here.
Yeah,
Could you give me a date? Because I was trying to get a timeline as to how many, if it was a 2-year process or 1-year process.
So prior to the fire that took place last year, while I was not working with Green VI at the time, there was a fire in February, and I think they at that time may have had 2 container loads of bottles that they would have collected throughout maybe from the year before into that year. I can't speak to that particular timeline, but since I came on in July, we have had now COVID of course slowed things down, but we have had an addition of probably like over just 50 bales just within a few months. It really depends on the amount of material coming in, and as well as material available, because we do need cardboard for the integrity of the bales to keep the bottles together. We do need pallets, but as I said, COVID kind of slowed things down. We may have we do still have more bales on the site. So what you're seeing here is not all of the bales. This is just enough to load the containers. There are bales on site. Every week, about 4 to 5 bales are made, whether it's plastic or aluminum cans. It depends on the materials that coming in and how fast the ladies in their human capacity are able to sort the material.
So in other words, the community outreach in terms of the advocacy of recycling have been well receptive, considering these huge amounts and these large quantities of items coming in.
In not last year, but the year before last, at the end of we're now in 2022, so the end of 2020, there was a re-recycle competition, and that competition led to even more awareness. So people who probably were not recycling before, because their kids came home and wanted to be a part of this particular competition, it made some families more aware. The kids even did videos to show how they were changing things at home. So recycling is not just about separating, but looking at food waste as well. Your peelings from your carrots and your cabbage and your potatoes, you can create compost, small compost bins at home. And we started composting because of that competition, because it brought some awareness. And imagine at that time I wasn't not working for Green VI yet. But through the competition, I was able to learn that there were 7 types of plastics, which I did not realize. I was able to learn that glass could be crushed down into aggregate. So the programs that are run in the schools, the garden programs, and all these different things that are happening, sometimes which would seem like behind the scenes, that's just an extension of what Green VI is doing. And the website does have a lot of information. There are lesson plans and stuff on there that teachers can use. There is material that children can use for their projects and so on. And, we can get a better sense of Green VI beyond the We Recycle program, seeing that Green VI is into innovation, water, energy, waste reduction. So again, it's more than just recycling.
Any final things you'd like to add on behalf of Green VI and regarding the initiative, or possibly potential future initiatives that you would like the public to be aware of?
Well, right now, I would just like to say for what we are doing, I think that as a community, we need to start looking at, because a lot of people are now on the health tip. It's either that they have something chronic, some kind of chronic illness that has bring them to change their behavior. But if we look at a lifestyle change where we start to take care of ourselves and our bodies and live healthier, it means we'll make better decisions, better choices. We would buy refill our gallon bottles or buy water that's in a glass bottle instead of the single-use plastic bottle, which we know once it sits in the sun or gets heated, the petroleum products are leaching into the water. Even just the way we treat the material when we take it out to be recycled or we drop it off in a bin. Wash your containers. Rinse things out, because there are human people behind the scenes that are actually having to go through some of these things, and sometimes it gets really bad, with what they have to go through on a daily basis in terms of sorting. I just want to encourage everybody to, come out and have a tour of the eco park. A lot of students have come out and have been doing volunteer work and getting community service hours, but it would be great to see the adult part of the population come out and see what's going on in the community and see where they can make a difference and a change. Something as small as just changing, what you use, using things that are eco-friendly, that are biodegradable, just some simple lifestyle changes. So I just advocate for individuals to learn more about who and what Green VI is, and let's go back to when we were green. In the simpler days, we fished, we farmed, we respected the land, we harvested water in our cisterns. So these are things that are not, they haven't gone into the dark ages, but we've become so used to the ease of, pressing a button and just having things done so quick and fast that we sometimes forget. So again, come out, visit us at the Eco Park, visit greenvi.org, the website, learn more, ask questions. It is all about education, it's all about learning, and it is about greening our community. It's about having a healthier, greener, cleaner Virgin Islands.
I also had the opportunity to speak to the Senior Executive Officer at the Department of Waste Management, Ms. Karina Correa.
Well, we assist Green VI with the collections process. There are several locations where people would drop off their plastics, aluminum, and glass bottles, and we have been given the responsibility to transport them from there to the site where they are sorted.
And in terms of I would have been told that also the Department of Waste Management, obviously government is moving within this particular direction. Speak to how this particular initiative helps and also helps the progression in government achieving their sustainable goal, hopefully by 2030.
Well, in the past, we did not have the BVI was not sorting its waste, so we've reached to a very pivotal part in our development of this, reaching to this goal. And the reason why we're doing this is because the incinerator, we have depended on the incinerator for a very long time, and the landfill. And right now it's currently down, and we need to look at other alternatives for managing waste, and this is one of them.
And also to what is more in store, because this is 1.6 million. Obviously, there have been pushed from the government to get more persons involved in recycling. The whole issue, as we can see, there's a bin here: reduce, reuse, recycle, upcycle.
Yes.
How more can you convince more residents to come forward and get in the act of recycling items?
Well, it starts from home. You have to train your children and let them know that why are we doing this? What is the purpose of doing this? And you can start by just getting bins and sorting your waste from home, and then taking them to the different collection locations. And then once we all work together, we can get it done.
And another part that would have been mentioned during my interview with the project manager of Green VI, she did mention legislation. The whole this initiative was done without the necessary legislation in place, but I'm assuming there are plans to put legislation in place to fund these types of projects. Speak to that if you can, from the capacity of the Department of Waste Management.
At this time, I may not be able to speak on that, but there is something in the pipeline being produced.
To help paint a better picture of the process that leads to the final production of one bale of plastics, I spoke to the Deputy Director of Green VI, Mrs. Sarah Penny.
Yeah, So in 2017, the program We Recycle was formalized with the Department of Waste Management, Green VI, and other private businesses, places like you'll end up knowing more about, VI Plastics, businesses that use waste as a resource. But the We Recycle program overall takes plastics, all plastics, as long as they're clean. Most people don't know there's 7 different kinds. Glass bottles or glass of any kind, and aluminum, usually drink cans. And so those all go into the community bins you see across the islands. Then they get collected by the Department of Waste Management and they get brought here. And then you'll meet our team. We have 4 amazing women right now that then sort through everything that comes from the bins, separate the plastics into all the different types because different things happen to each different type of plastic. And then we have a team that does the work to process them. So it has to, like what you've seen, just the drink bottles, the plastic drink bottles, all have to get compacted with a machine called a Baler that you'll also see to be able to be exported. Now, that's our least favorite way of having to deal with them. What we really want to be doing is separating out the materials that can be used by businesses locally. So of the 7 different kinds of plastics, numbers 2, 4, and 6 can all go into what's called polywood, which is made locally by a local business. And then that gets turned into all kind of things, into more recycling bins, furniture. One day when there's enough production happening, perhaps it starts to be available for decking, which a lot of people get excited to be able to use that. But the most important thing is that this center, where you are right now, is the test center. So right now there's probably about 10% of what can be recycled that people throw in a green bin otherwise is making its way into recycling bins. And we can all be proud of that. And what Green VI's role is to work with Department of Waste Management to figure out what's the best system, what are the best standard operating procedures for a recycling system for the territory. And then once we figure all of that out, and the government has all the information it needs, then it makes decisions about what the full scale, the national scale system needs to be, which in turn helps to mitigate the challenges and issues that we have with burning of waste throughout the territory.
Great. So what we're going to do, viewers, now, just to give you guys a tour of the facility, just to get somewhat of a more insight to see the in-depth, to see because another thing that I want to touch on before we get to this is the importance of the management process. You spoke about that being a critical aspect of the whole operation. Mm-hmm. And obviously, based off the conversations we would have had with the Department of Waste Management, the importance of Green VI basically setting the tone so that they could then take over the recycling effort afterwards. So speak about the importance of managing the items and management when it comes to recycling.
Yeah, the Department of Waste Management really established a fantastic model on Just Van Dyke, and that really can be replicated, which is that there's bins that just need a little bit more separation, potential across the island, so that when people bring their recyclables and their waste, they're already doing some of the separation themselves. So that's called separation at source. That's something me as an individual or a business, I can do. And then when it goes to a recycling center or a materials center, it's separated further, right? And it's checked. But what the government and the Department of Waste Management do is they have the oversight, right? And they've also worked to figure out legislation, which is what they're doing right now with what's called the container deposit bill, to have a funding mechanism so that then they can contract operators to operate the different waste centers. So right now we often see that government tries to do and be everything to everybody, right? Operate everything, run everything, oversee it, legislate it, do all of that. And it's not a really sustainable approach. Whereas if government builds and gets the equipment that's needed to do and manage waste properly, and then contracts out the operation to private operators. And that really can be anyone that can bid on a tender that they put out that understands systems. Because what Green VI is doing right now is working with government to actually have like the operating manual to be able to give to an operator to say, this is what you do with number 1 plastics. This is what you do with number 2 plastics. This is how you handle the glass. This is where the cardboard goes. This is how you support farmers with mulch, with the landscaping waste. This is the machinery and how you maintain it. And this is where you go when you have a problem, and this is how you highlight the solution. And what government does is maintains oversight. And if there's a problem, they can change the contractor, or if there's a problem, they can intervene to help find solutions. But all the weight isn't resting on them all the time. Hope that answers the question.
Well, great. So, viewers, you heard Mrs. Penny basically explaining the importance of managing recycling, and we would have basically seen the whole benefits of this management system here at the Eco plant, where you would have seen obviously the items being processed. Well, we saw the final product. We'll show you viewers now the items being processed and sorted here. So just viewers, just take a look at what we're about to show you. I'm sure that these workers are persons that work extremely hard, sorting out 1.6 million bottles.
Yeah.
That's a
And it
huge
never
number.
starts coming in. It never stops, if that makes sense. You don't get to 1.6 million plastic bottles, which is what 2 shipping containers full will hold. It doesn't stop. There'll be like 3 more truckloads of recyclables every single day coming here to get sorted through. So when you meet the team, you'll see what's happening with the things that right now have to be exported. Hopefully in the not too distant future, there will be businesses on island that have figured out a way to use that kind of plastic, which is called PET plastic. It's a number 1 plastic. And then you'll get to know more about businesses like VI Plastics that uses the other types. Right behind you, even you'll see a table and bench, made from some of the plastics that the ladies sort.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So viewers, take a look. Well, viewers, as promised, we have Mrs. Penny, who's just going to show us from the placement of the materials, whether it be glass, plastics, etc. And she's going to show us basically the whole process of what it goes through to that final product we would have seen being loaded into the shipping containers. Yeah. So let's go. Firstly, I'm seeing some glass here. Yeah. Just speak to this firstly, and then you can.
So, yeah, absolutely. Welcome. So the We Recycle Center at the Eco Park in Paraquita Bay, very similar to what happens on VG. The bins that are throughout the island are emptied, and then the collectors bring them here and deposit them in this first stage of the processing. Those bags are typically, basically, roughly sorted, because people have put their glass in one section, they've put their plastic in another section, and they've put their drink cans in another section. So when you take a bag, usually you can know you're gonna get glass, and if you get glass bottles, those come over to this glass crusher. And what you're gonna end up as a product is crushed glass that once it's crushed, really gets back to its fundamental element, which is sand, and then it can be used in all kind of infrastructure projects. You can use it just beautifully in landscaping, but you can also use it in concrete or for pipe bedding or for moisture retention in soil. So it has a lot of really powerful applications. So that's in a way what happens fundamentally with the glass. Green VI is proud to have been able to get a grant for the purchase of a large-scale glass crusher that's going to be installed at Popwood Pond, adjacent to the incinerator. The equipment's already on island, and that can do a ton of glass every hour. So it's a really big machine, and it will protect the incinerator from also damage, because glass melts onto the inside of the incinerator. It doesn't actually go anywhere. So then I'll take you on a walk now here where you see what happens more with plastic bottles and cans. So this is what's called a baler. So this is the piece of equipment that makes those big blocks of plastic that are being loaded for export right now. Okay, so this is a high pressure, high strength hydraulic machine that compacts the same large bags you see over here. Thank you, and shout out to Tortola Express and a lot of the shipping companies who set those bags aside for the sake of the recycling collections. And it helps us to measure, I'm gonna come on this side, to measure the volumes that are being collected. So now you're gonna meet our team, hand up in the air. Thank you, Denicia. Thank you, Miss Paulina. Thank you, Miss Jessie. All right, who are just our phenomenal team. Our only missing powerhouse right now is Miss Mary, who you'll meet on another day when you come out. And they're the ones that are the front line. So you in your home have separated your recyclables, you've made sure that they're rinsed, you've separated into sections, and then these are the women that will go through and separate them into the different kind of plastics. Maybe you didn't rinse something quite as well as you should have. And we implore the public to think about the people on the other side of this process, right? If you ever are like, oh, I feel too tired to really rinse that out, imagine the person that's going to need to interact with that on the other side. Take the time to rinse and separate. So what you're seeing alongside here, Mal, is all the different separated materials. So we end up with sections that are just drinkable #1 plastics. And Miss Denicia, let me see a container with an easy triangle on the bottom. Yeah, perfect. So a lot of people aren't necessarily aware that all plastics have a little triangle on the bottom and a number inside of it. And that actually tells you what kind of plastic this is. So what number is that one? Can you see the number?
Number 5.
This is a number 5 plastic. Okay, so this plastic right now is queued up that this may be able to become plant pots on island, which would be wonderful. So this could be shredded, and the same equipment that VI Plastics uses right now to make polywood boards, they could use to turn this kind of plastic into plant pots using a different kind of mold. That could also be a great business for someone else to start. So when we talk about plastic as not the enemy, but rather we just need to manage it better, that's a really good example. So right now, this is one of the biggest questions we get, is what about films? So films, as long as they're clean, are also recyclable, all right? These are the thing that we're probably gonna be able to be the most proud of, because this kind of plastic is the most problematic across the world. But right now, that same polywood that the recycling bins are made from is primed to be able to use this, because these are a number 4 plastic. And if we can find a solution in the Virgin Islands for these number 4 film plastics, we will have a solution to share with the world, not just ourselves. Because as you can imagine, these blow, these end up in landfills, nobody knows what to do with them, kind of thing. And we're developing a solution that other people can make use of. So if you needed a moment of like BVI pride, everyone should take that one as BVI pride. Now we keep going, and what you'll start to see is on a easy day, this team just recently, with all the bales of plastic bottles you saw that are leaving the territory, inside of here fills up constantly. So you see the size of these bags, and you notice the size of the blocks that are being exported. That's between 35 and 40 of these bags goes into every single one of them. So if you want to exponentially, anyone who's interested in mathematics and wants to see that we're sending 84 of those out, and they take between 35 and 40 of these bags for each one of them, it's a huge amount of material. Huge.
And I also want to point out there's a board here I'm seeing February 23rd, 2022. And there's a number of categories here that we can see some stripes to basically indicate that these were probably detected. Explain this board for me, so the viewers can understand as well.
I'm going to come a little bit on this side to try help out. So ladies, you want to explain it, Miss Denicia? Come on. I think you're in the perfect position. No? You want to explain it? Come, Miss Denicia, come and explain it.
Miss Denicia?
So Denicia, yeah.
Okay, so we have Miss Denicia, who's going to basically try to explain this board here for you, the viewers, and for myself as well, so we can have somewhat of a better comprehension as it pertains to what it really means.
Okay, this board here, these are the field technician we put here, so how much of us working every day. And then we have PET water, that is the drinkable, the regular water them here. That will be these here. These are the PET waters. Then we have the drinkable water, that will be number 1, and non-drinkable. Then we have colored, that will be the colored, meaning all Clorox bottle, all Fabuloso bottles, all your detergent bottling. Then we have clear, will be the big gallon water that you buy to the supermarket, the Great Mountain, the Highland waters. Those are this is clear number 2 also. Then we have cans, will be the beverage can them that we use, that everybody drink, Coke and everything else that you drink. That's what those is. Number 5 will be the Same thing that she just showed you all is number 5. Then we have some number 6 will be all foams, all food crates. That is number 6. Number 7 is the deli meat, the Canadian dry waters. And we have flames will be the plastic them, number 4. And these are all the sorts that we do every day. So the board will be full out throughout the whole day. And these are going to be tallied up on how much we do every day.
Great. So just on average, how much plastics and how many bottles and stuff do you guys and cans do you guys sort of on a daily basis?
Well, most of us will do like 7 bags a day or maybe 10 a day. Each of us will do different amount of bags, but I believe each of us will do about 10 bags a day. Maybe 7 is the most because, we break in between too. But when we add all of them up, it'll be like 20, 25 bags. Our salt, everything that we don't do will be 20, 25 bags. All depends on how many bags we have out there and the speed we pick up to get them out.
Great.
Working with young people that come to the site.
Okay, I was just told to ask her about young people who come to work at the site. So speak to that as well.
Okay, we also have some volunteer kids that just come at the site on maybe whenever they have available time, they will get to come on the site. They will do recycling also. We explain everything to them, teach them the different numbers same way, and let them go through them and sort them out. When they go home, they tell the parents them about recycling same way. So we do it here and they do their part at home also with the kids them. Most kids when they come, they love it. They want to come back at all time.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to let you get back to your busy schedule here. We really do appreciate your job and your contribution to actually benefiting the society as well too. Okay, so Mrs. Penny is basically about to just continue the journey and just continue the tour of the facility. So what's next here in terms of, we would have seen what you would have explained earlier. We have one of your lovely personnel basically explaining, what she does, and she also explained the board. So what's next now as well?
So Denise is humble in how she talks about the work with young people, student volunteers that come, but anybody of any age is welcome at any point in time because seeing is believing. So you heard her beautifully illustrate that children come and help with the sorting process and then they go home and teach their families. We welcome anybody to come out and see what this side of the system is so that you start to learn about what we call the cages, these cages that help to keep the material separated for different intentions, what that looks like. What our executive director, Charlotte McDevitt, will always say for us to be proud of is the fact that the people of the British Virgin Islands probably are going to understand different types of plastic more than anywhere in the world because so many children come through. It's not a small number. I mean, on a normal circumstance, we would have an entire bus from a school come. So you might end up with 20 to 30 children here, and they're working side by side with our team directly hands-on. They're painting signs, they're sorting recyclables, they're helping Miss Jessie in the garden. I'd love to introduce you to Miss Jessie, who's one of our key team members. Miss Paulina, that's not to negate your amazing value as well. She's got probably the most patience when it comes to the children that come to volunteer, because they always invariably put something in the wrong bag. We all know that teaching is one of the most thankless, hardest jobs, right? And if you can imagine doing that simultaneously while trying to do recycling, it's a hero's job, So Miss Jess is a part of helping us to teach about more than just plastics, glass and aluminum, but also about food waste, which you're going to show you in the back with composting, which is something people need to know about. So really, we can just keep walking, if that's all right.
I have some right here.
Fantastic. Thank you, Miss Jessie, so much. So you'll see that it goes the whole length. Most people see this warehouse from the roadside and they think, oh, it's so big. Until you get in here and you see how much recyclables are coming every day. On Tortola, there are 33 drop-off points for recyclables. So if you can imagine, 33 bins have to get emptied, and they get emptied daily on the most part, to then come here. And this team is working. This site is open Tuesdays through Saturdays. And it's processing constantly. We never have a pause. There's never a pause. but the women and the men that work out at this site have come from all kinds of backgrounds and careers and industries that they've worked in. And this wasn't one they expected to be in, but I think you want to make a little noise. Has it been worth it? We show up every day feeling that the work we're doing and our hours have a greater purpose, right? Have a greater meaning. So we're gonna go, we're taking you under the passion fruit vine,
Nice.
which is part of the teaching. It's part of the teaching because we want to be able to show people how you should even plan your garden, grow your plants based on things that are going to create shade, right? Instead of buying cut down wood to build a shade structure, consider a passion fruit vine. But the bags, if you want to take a look along the back here, all of these are going to go to VI Plastics this afternoon to get turned into polywood. So that entire wall of plastics right now is going to get turned into polywood. And what we're reactivating at the Eco Park is our garden. Right now it's just being retilled. We're sowing the ground again shortly to have more food crops growing, because it's really important for people to see that even an industrial setting, a big warehouse, which this warehouse used to be a galvalume factory, even a warehouse with a lot of what we think of as recycling and its waste and its industrial, can also grow food. So that's why you see we have all kind of banana trees, plantain trees, and then we bring you over to our nursery and our compost area. So compost is the best way everybody can do with their fruit and vegetable scraps, their paper, their cardboard if you shred it, and you turn that into soil that helps you to grow rich and nutritious food. And we know most people, one, like to eat, and most people, two, like to save money. And if you grow your own food, you do both at the same time. At the same time. So if anyone wants to come out and learn about composting, we're again always Tuesday through Saturday. You can come to the Parakeeta Eco Park and learn all kind of stuff. Learn about recycling, learn about composting, learn about seedlings, things that grow well in the Virgin Islands. You can also come and learn about how you can use shipping containers as an alternative building approach by seeing our container office that's here. You can drive an electric car to experience what electric transportation feels like. Other things you can do when you come out is learn about turning trash into treasure. So different cottage industry craft ideas that maybe you might be interested in starting as a business.
Great. And I'm seeing a sign with the letters forming the word compost bin. So I'm assuming this is the compost bin.
Yeah.
So if you can take a look, how long would have these particular materials that are presently there been in here?
So this, a good set of compost will take about 3 months to break down, right? And compost is a balance of what you would call green and brown material or wet and dry material. So it'll be grass cuttings or dried leaves, palm fronds, things like that, as well as your fruit and vegetable peelings from home. So our team brings their peelings from home to add to the compost. We'll usually keep an eye out for, cut grass or different bush that we can gather up. And then our role as an organization here is to see how we can support farmers in the area. So the compost goes to the school gardens that we facilitate, multiple school gardens. So we have 6 right now that we're facilitating, and there will be more. And then you'll see also that we are really want to make the most of the large roof space that's here to catch rainwater. That's also available to farmers in the area when needed. So we have big water tanks, and it's water harvesting to try to remind all of us as Caribbean people of the fact that we can rely on the rain a lot more than we can rely on other sources of water.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And that's actually a very important part that you mentioned, because we do know the water woes that happens here in Parakeeta Bay, so that will be of great assistance to the farmers as well.
Yep, it's just a reminder. It's really, most of us remember when we were green. We remember when we would deal with our garbage because we would always compost, and we would catch rainwater always because that was your water. You didn't have some alternative, and your life cost less. It was more resilient. You know, you would move a little slower, you grew your own food, so that way you knew where your food was coming from. It hadn't been traveling for 2 weeks and then sitting on a boat for another 2 weeks before it even came into your house, and how many people had touched it, right? But rather you buy local, support a local farmer, grow your own food, collect your own water, cut down on how much plastic you even bring into your house. I think that's what I just hope everyone can hear today is it's wonderful to celebrate the success of what we've protected from going to be burned, but we should have even less of it. We don't need as much plastic in our lives as we have right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I'm sure this is the last part of the tour.
Walk along the container office, but yeah.
Okay, great.
You can do your out.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, Mrs. Penny, very much. Obviously, it was a very comprehensive, in-depth tour of the facility. I'm sure the viewers would have taken in and grasped that information you would have given, and I hope they're inspired to basically utilize some of the techniques and some of the measures that you would have spoken about, whether it be sorting out the garbage at home and disposing of it in a manner where it can be reused and upused as well. And also too, we would have seen here lastly in terms of the farm area where we're showing the nursery, where you can show basically how you can use this the compost to help you know, act as a natural nutrition for the plants, basically, all in being efficient and stuff. So viewers, I really want to thank you guys for joining us, and until next time, I'm Kamal Haynes of 284 News. Thank you for joining us.